Morris.
Guess not from that spot.
Joe, can you hear me?
My big Joe?
Okay.
It's always done.
For now.
All the boxes are going.
Yeah, for now. He's got a lot done. He's got a little bit more to do.
Going better.
What's that?
He said he's doing better.
Each year should be easier. Oh,
That's why he's finding all the things he's finding. Did you notice all the other stuff he's finding that he never found before?
only one thing I had to do it last year.
Oh, I forgot.
You're pretty close.
You get the cookie, Jeff. Oh, man. I'm gonna have to do my minutes manually. I can't get to the server.
Yeah, I see it. Look at it. I think everybody's seen it already.
Is there anything you need before the meeting?
Please, Joe. You ready? Madam Clerk, you ready?
We're all live.
Sean? Ready?
I'm set.
All right. Town of Vernon Planning Commission meeting call to order at 6 p.m. on February 14th. All rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody. So, with that being said, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Chairman Thomas Byrd.
Present.
Supervisor Commissioner Jeff Millies.
Present.
Commissioner Merle Wagner.
Present.
Commissioner Megan Johnson. Commissioner Supervisor Bill Craig.
Here.
Planner Sean Malarkey.
Present.
And Zoning Administrator. Mr. Chairman, do you have a quorum of your board and a quorum of the Plan Commission present at this meeting?
All right, thank you. Open meetings law compliance.
Mr. Chairman, the agenda was posted inside and outside the Vernon Town Hall to the media, to other businesses within the town of Vernon. To the Town of Vernon website, you're in full compliance with the open meetings law.
Miscellaneous matters. Following matters to be discussed and possible action taken by the Town of Vernon Plan Commission unless otherwise noted. Item A. Larry? Is Larry here? How do you pronounce your last name so I don't murder it?
Machosik.
Machosik. Long, okay. West 249 South 8350 Center Drive in the town of Vernon is requesting a waiver modification to construct a 79 by 48 accessory building on the property located at West 249 South 8350 Center Drive. The town of Vernon did notify all property owners within 300 feet of Larry's Machosik's request for the proposed accessory building, and public comments will be heard. So with that being said, before I'm going to let Sean do his thing first, and then we'll bring Larry up to answer questions, and then we'll have public comments. All right. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The petitioner is requesting to construct a 48-foot by 79-foot accessory building on the subject property. The height would be 24 feet 5 inches as measured from peak to grade. The exterior is proposed to match that of the existing accessory building on the property in terms of colors and materials, and then also match the colors and materials of the house as well. It would be tan vertical siding with brown trim. The building itself would be used for the storage of personal items. The petitioner has submitted photographs of the existing accessory building and the existing home, so you can get a sense of what this might look like. The actual lot is zoned R1 residential. It's a 4.972 acre lot, which is largely buffered by trees along the south edge of the property, the east edge of the property, and most of the northern edge of the property as well. The location of the existing accessory structure as well as the proposed accessory structure are largely obscured from the surrounding properties, and they are approximately at least 300 to 400 feet away from surrounding residences. Any accessory building exceeding 3,000 square feet, as is proposed, requires Plan Commission approval. The proposed accessory structure is in compliance with setback provisions. It is in compliance with the number of accessory buildings allowed. There are, applicant is allowed 2 total. This would be the second as well. So he's in compliance with that. In terms of the size, lots of this size are allowed up to 3% of the total lot area to be occupied by accessory buildings. He's allowed, in that case, 6,497 square feet of accessory buildings based on his lot size of 4.972 acres. The existing building is 2,687 square feet. The proposed is 3,792. That totals 6,479, which is just under the maximum allowable for a lot of his size, which is in compliance with the ordinance. In terms of height, the R1 residential district does allow buildings as high as 18 feet from peak to grade. He's proposing 24 foot 6 inches. There's also a provision in the ordinance that allows you to increase the size based on increased setbacks and offsets. The nearest offset is the north property line, which is 95.6 feet away from the proposed building. So the petitioner is also in compliance with the required additional setback as well. If the Plan Commission should choose to approve the request, I have prepared a list of 10 standard conditions. And that is my report.
Okay. Do you want to read the conditions into the record, please?
Sure. The first is that the accessory building should not exceed what's proposed, 3,792 square feet with a height of 24 feet 6 inches. The accessory building shall be constructed in accordance with the site plan specs as presented to the Town of Vernon Plan Commission tonight. The accessory building will comply with all requirements of Section 125.10 accessory buildings, also comply with Section 310 height regulations, comply with requirements of 300-29, which is actually the R1 zoning district. The petitioner shall record a deed restriction on the property in a form approved by the town attorney, giving notice that the use of the building, due to its size, cannot be used for ag, commercial, or industrial purposes. The petitioner shall obtain a preliminary site evaluation from Waukesha County Parks and Land Use, stating that this will not have an adverse impact on the septic system. Currently, the septic system is the far southwest corner of the site. That was not presented as part of the application. We'd require that to be obtained before we'd issue a zoning permit and building permit. And then the petitioner would obtain appropriate permits for the town of Waukesha, including the building permit and zoning permit. The town attorney shall review the final conditions, and then that the petitioner shall reimburse the town for all costs for review of the project.
And I'm sure the planner indicated wants to town of Vernon, not Waukesha.
I'm sorry, town of Vernon.
Just so you're stating it for the record.
It's, yeah, correct. And it's stated as town of Vernon.
Right, that's correct, sir.
My apology.
Okay. Larry, you want to come up, please? State your name and address.
Gary Machosik, West 249, South 8350, Center Drive.
So, petitioner, that's you, are in compliance with all of our regulations. What, I know you have a building on there already, and I know how the buildings get packed full of stuff and you just need more room, you never got enough room. What, is that other building gonna be used for?
I'm gonna store my motorhome, my trailer, my son's camper, and a couple of classic cars.
Okay. You understand you can't run a business out of there?
Correct.
Okay. Gentlemen?
Well, any questions? Seems pretty straightforward.
Building is straightforward, looks like there's some earth moving or something going on in the back. What is this area in the back?
That's all field. There's nothing, that could have been an old picture, but it's all grass and trees right now. There's nothing back there.
Megan?
I don't have any comments or questions either.
Bill?
Somewhere on an email, I heard it was Muskego Crane Service, that's your company? I think?
Yeah, it's just that I do other plot surveys with this company, and they mistakenly put that on there. That's all it was.
Oh, so you're not in the crane business?
I am, but it has nothing to do with this building. I have
So
another
you're
shop
not-
at also.
No equipment here at all in this parcel related to your business?
No. If you notice down here, my name is down on the bottom and not, so we just made the mistake of that way.
Sean, I had a question. Accessory buildings exceeding 3,000 square feet require plan commission approval. Do we consider that a variance?
We don't. It's just a review. So though it's listed on the agenda as a waiver modification, it's actually not a waiver or modification or a variance. It's just something that has to be approved by the plan commission.
And I'm just trying to decipher the difference. Plan commission has to make a decision based upon what to grant the difference in square footage.
Well, the things that you'd normally consider in a case like this is whether or not a building of this size is compatible with the parcel itself and the surroundings, it's compatible with the home, and it's not intrusive to the neighbors in terms of size and location. So the points I made in this case is that it's almost a 5-acre parcel. It's largely secluded in terms of vegetation. You can only see it from a couple of different angles, potentially from the north or northeast, depending on where you're at. But it's largely screened, and it's at least 300 feet away from surrounding residences. So there's an argument there that you could consider it compatible with the site and the surroundings, and wouldn't be too much of a burden on the property owners adjacent. So that's what we're thinking about when we're looking at size.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is just reading the attorney's review of the new statute concerning variances,
Conditional uses, sure.
burden of proof or the need is pretty, I think, pretty difficult.
This isn't a C.
Yeah, so this would be a different situation altogether. Since this it's not considered a special use or a conditional use, this is just something to make sure that what's being proposed is compatible with the surroundings.
So then the plan commission, if this were, I forget what the maximum allowable square footage is. If we're within the ratio, Sean, it could be a 5,000 square foot building, the plan commission could approve arbitrarily, right?
Well, as long as you're under the maximum based on his lot size, which is 6497 square feet, as long as his buildings are under that, it follows the code But you still need to make the discretionary determination as to whether or not it's appropriate for the site.
Does our code reads build anything over 3,000 square feet, that's got to go to planning commission.
Right. Is it compatible?
Otherwise, you just got a permit,
Right.
that's the only reason why.
Right.
That's all I have, thanks.
None of the neighbors objected any objections to the building anymore, was there?
There's neighbors here tonight that would like to speak.
Okay. Any more questions for Larry? Okay, Larry, are there neighbors here? Could I see a show of hands? Okay, could you sit down please and let the neighbors speak?
Can I ask Mr. Miller a question directly?
Ask the town board. That's what, Mr. Machosik is here, okay, to get his permit. Now, public comments will be addressed to the town board.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Karen Peterson. I live on the north side of, south side of, the property.
West 249, South 8410, Center Drive. I'm Catherine Bielzik. We live at the same residence.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Catherine, what's your last name?
Bielzik,
Can you spell that?
sure, Bialzik.
Thank you.
Sure. Well, there's a couple of items I'd like to address. Mainly wanted to know what the...
Could you please turn the microphone there? I don't know if everybody's getting that.
Wanted to know what the new structure was going to house, and, like I said, classic cars, motorhome, and trailer. And that there would be no business vehicles on the property, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe Larry drives a big crane type or cherry picker type truck that's now housed in the first building to and from work Monday through Friday. So I'm just have some concerns that there will not be an increase of that.
There's also another large truck. It's like a semi-truck maybe, that's parked on the property. So maybe that would also go in there, I'm not sure. And then the other concern I have is the location of the building in relation to our property. Does anyone have a map of the two properties where we could see exactly where that building would be?
Yeah, we, in our packet here, there is a drawing, scale drawing of,
Just to bring the big, but I think they want to see how it is in regards to their property, if they've seen that.
So north is up in this example, and here's, I think, your property
Yes,
to the
we're
south.
right here, correct.
So here's the existing barn, and here's the proposed. So it shares the gravel driveway that comes in, it's sort of adjacent to,
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
to the
Yeah,
existing.
it looks different.
Where's our property?
Right here.
This,
So
all of this?
Yeah.
And this is- It's
much further over there.
Oh, so it would be just almost kitty corner?
Well, it's 166 feet from his south lot line.
Okay, I see. Okay. I thought it was more over here for some reason. So, I mean, we can see it clearly. The pole barn that's there now, we can see it real easily. It's less so in the summer. So, we do have a concern just about the, you know, is this gonna decrease our property value by having these two huge?
No, there's several people in the town of Vernon have come, a lot of people have pole barns when they have acreages. Yeah, if they meet the maximum or meet the standards, our hands are pretty much tied because there's nothing in the before we come to this meeting, Madam Clerk and I have a phone conference with the attorney, so we get his legal review on all of the issues and the packets and this stuff like this, so, and this is copied out for our, commissioners, so we can see it, and it says, this is his memo setting forth the summary and discussion for the chairman and the joint plan commission. The proposed building apparently is in compliance with all the town codes.
Okay.
So there is no real reason that we could deny
I understand, I just,
because he's in
initially,
compliance.
we were under the impression that it was, for some reason, we were told it was gonna be right on our lot line.
No,
That's part of
it's,
our concern. And then, the other thing, just to be honest, is that we're hoping that there's not like more truck activity on the property because of this, but rather that it really will be just for storage.
Right, because currently, Larry has a right to do this, but he works on the trucks. Some trucks he races and will test out on his track in the back, and we just don't want that type of activity to be increased.
I mean, it's okay now, we just don't want more of it. But that's what we were worried about, but,
track, what type of track?
well, in the back, there's a,
Dirt bikes and ATVs.
which he has not done for many years.
Yeah, the only thing he's tested is like his racing trucks.
Okay.
But that's our main concern, is that there's not more of this engine working on those types of vehicles. Storing these types of items, I have no problem with.
Well, we have a form, a complaint form, okay, that you can file. If a neighbor is doing something you don't want, and I'm not saying it's gonna be Larry, but a neighbor that is doing something, we have a complaint form here that you can file, that we can send out. Our building inspector is our enforcing agent, okay? And if he sees something, he comes back, he tells us, and we act on it. We also have codes, and we have an ordinance that says you have to have at least 7 acres
We're well
to
aware
have,
of
to
that.
have that. So if somebody starts doing that, and it bothers you, and that also coincides with the noise ordinance and a nuisance ordinance. So we have means, and we can write citations to get them to stop, and we can write them every day if it's ongoing. And we don't go out and do it, but the sheriff goes out and does it. The sheriff will write the citation.
Right, we're well aware of that, and it's not been a
But it
problem.
makes hard to live next to a neighbor like that.
Thank you.
So if you could work something out, it would be better than, and if not, then we've got means to curb that.
Yeah, I don't see anything that needs to be worked out now.
Okay.
Okay, so I just wanna say to Larry, I hope there's no hard feelings that we came here with these concerns. We're just trying to protect our own property as
Mhm.
well.
That's what that's why we have public comments
Okay,
on these,
okay.
so people
Thank you.
can come and talk.
Should we keep that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Anybody else? I see there was another neighbor that raised a hand that wants to say anything, or? No?
I
Bill?
I have just one question for Sean, yet Sean, number 6,
Yeah.
has to do with limited use, cannot be used for agricultural, commercial, or industrial purposes. Does that automatically include renting it out as storage space for future use? Would that be considered commercial then?
Correct. You would not be able to use it in any commercial capacity. So if you drive a truck home from work, that's one thing, but if you start to store vehicles there, then that would be an issue.
And all the accessory buildings do have that restriction, commercial?
Over a certain size, yes.
Yes, anything
Anything over
Would be
3,000 gets
Mhm.
that deed restriction.
Okay.
And there were a couple other neighbors that came in, they didn't identify themselves. They just wanted to look at the location of where Larry was putting his building, but they didn't file any objection. They just wanted to see the information.
So if I could address Larry, so the conditions that are part of the staff report, like the PSE from the county, the deed restriction, you'll have to obtain those before we'll issue the zoning and building permit for the accessory building. Okay.
Larry, can you come back up to the front one second? Question here. On the plan, it does look like there is a track back there, but you don't use that for a track?
That's such an old picture, that's not there.
Okay, so you don't do that anymore?
No.
Okay.
My son used to be a motocross when he was 15, about 12 or 15, and he's 23 now, so.
Two street and girls.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions for Larry Joseph? Was there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the accessory building request by Larry Machosik based on the 9 conditions.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Sean, should he contact Vince first, or?
You should contact the county to get the PSE, and then you should go to the county as well to record the deed restriction. Do you help with that?
I do that.
You do that for him?
Yeah, I do
Okay.
that, but Vince will,
I'll just come and see you and we'll work it out.
Yep.
We'll get it done.
yeah, because between Sean and Vince, he's the zoning and Vince is the building.
Right, so you'll pass it on?
Right, yeah, just call tomorrow and I can tell
Let
you,
everybody know that I'm not building until spring,
Okay,
just so that's, you know.
yeah, do you want to
can't do
go?
much today.
Right, yeah, go and do that. Well, I thank everybody.
All right. Item B, conceptual certified survey map of Larry Myers of the property located at West 238 South 8185 Sunset View, located in the town of Vernon.
I'm here, do you want me to come up? Okay.
Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Larry is, he's requesting conceptual review of a certified survey map for his property. The property would also require rezoning. It's currently under county shoreline zoning entirely. So the town would be part of that through the county's public hearing process, but not directly here. What Mr. Myers is requesting is division of his existing 5.24 acre lot into an approximately 1.5 acre lot on the north and a 3.74 acre lot on the south. There's an existing home on the property that would remain on the southern lot, the larger lot. The lot was created, the existing lot was created back in 2007 and then later expanded a little bit to the south through an adjustment to its total size of 5.24 acres. The parcel is currently zoned A2 county shoreline zoning, which requires 3 acre minimum lot size. So what he's asking for from the county is to rezone the northern 1.5 acre lot to R1, which is consistent with the zoning of the properties and the subdivision to the north. There actually is, in terms of the parcel itself, if you look at the county mapping on the GIS site, it looks like there's a wetland on the property. The petitioner did get a delineation done through an assured delineator that has stated that there actually is no wetland on the property through development patterns in the past, subdivision developments to the east and drainage ditches that have gone in. The hydrology has substantially changed, and there is no evidence of a wetland at this point, and the county has seen that and has concurred. The petitioner has done soil borings on the site to make sure that there was a suitable location for a mound system, and has done the groundwater determination. So there's a Form A also completed showing the groundwater elevation at 909.5. The petitioner first met with county staff on this one, and the layout that you see with the proposed 1.5 acre northern lot that was sort of bounded in red, I believe that was suggested by Rebecca Lido, the county staff. So they have seen this. This meets their ordinances and so on. So they wanted to make sure that we were okay with it as well. I have a few comments and potentially concerns. In terms of the comprehensive plan, the town of Vernon's future land use map depicts the property as low density residential, which is 1.5 to 4.9 acres. It allows parcels as small as 1.5 acres in area, and the land division would be consistent with that. In terms of zoning, again, it's county shoreline zoning. The division would be consistent with county shoreline zoning in terms of lot size and with calculations as well. Attorney Macy had some questions initially about if it was consistent with the county's shoreline zoning jurisdiction, and I verified that it was. In terms of the town's land division ordinance, this is where it kind of gets a little tricky. What you see here in terms of the proposed division, the northern lot, the frontage is about, there's no dimensions on the CSM that was submitted, the conceptual CSM was submitted, but if I measure it, it's about 61 feet of frontage on the northern lot. Town land division ordinance requires 66 feet of frontage. And what Mr. Myers was trying to do here was he was trying to put the lot line so that it was just north of the existing driveway in the property, so that the existing driveway for the home in the south end would remain on the south lot, and then a new driveway potentially could be located on the northern lot for this one. So that doesn't meet our ordinance. We'd need at least 66 feet of frontage to meet the town's ordinance unless a waiver was granted for that. And I've listed the provisions in the staff report for a waiver. Basically, you would be required, if granted, the general layout would need to be consistent with the intent of the land division ordinance, and it would not adversely affect property owners in the surrounding area, that it would benefit the petitioner's project in a way that is inconsistent with the town's interest, that it's in full compliance with the other applicable ordinances, and then whether or not the chapter itself should be changed to accommodate the actual situation. So the other way to approach this, though, is that there's plenty of frontage there for both lots to have 66 feet of frontage. You could slide the lot line down. It just means that the driveway itself would sort of straddle both lots. So in that case, the existing driveway would have to either be moved to the south lot line, or there have to be a shared access agreement. I personally don't know the town's position on shared driveways, so you'd have to shed some light on that for me as to whether or not you'd be, if that would be objectionable or not. The other point that Attorney Macy raised was sort of the southern lot here. He asked, is this a flag lot? Flag lots are prohibited in the town of Vernon's land division ordinance unless through waiver modification, just like the lot frontage, they would be allowed. I'm not convinced this is a flag lot. The way flag lots are described in the ordinance are lots that are accessed through a narrow strip of land or an easement to get back to the rest of the property. This happens to be, though it's a fairly narrow frontage, there's not actually a sort of a strip of land that access. So I don't necessarily think it's a flag lot per se that would require a waiver or modification. Some of the other things going on here, there's a pond of water on the site that's on the south parcel, and there's drainage that goes to the north, and there's drainage that goes to the northeast that also happens to be with an existing drainage easement. There's a mound location that's sort of suitable on the property. In those two things, in conjunction with the 50-foot setback, doesn't leave a heck of a lot of buildable area on the northern lot. What I'm asking is to see, with the drainage areas, with the setbacks, with the mound system, I'd actually like to see a building envelope to know if it's actually buildable or not.
One of the things is where's the building site, where's the septic?
Exactly. So, though in concept, it's not. I'm not saying that it's not possible. We'd just like to see if you come back with a CSM in the future for next time to see exactly what the buildable envelope would
Can
be.
I just say one thing? I proposed that it was a 2-acre lot, not a 1.5-acre lot. The way we have it designed would be a 2-acre lot. And they laid out for people that did the boring and the perk test, they showed where the mound would be, the recommended site.
Right.
And by having 2 acres, there's
Well,
pretty much room.
The red, what's been submitted though is a 1.5-acre lot.
Right, and she said this line could be moved. I was proposing to have, closer to a 2-acre lot.
It could potentially be moved, except the problem is that the frontage for both lots needs to be 66 feet. So that's problematic.
Okay, you're talking the piece here where the...
Yes, where both lots touch Sunset View Drive has to be at least 66 feet.
And this one is 60.
This is the red one is 61, so if you widened it, you could get it to 66, and that would be okay, but then we have to deal with the driveway issue in terms of either shared access or moving the driveways.
Yeah.
Moving the existing driveway south and then putting a new driveway in for the northern lot, so. Well, let me just finish my report, and then the Plan Commission may have comments or ask you questions. So, this is conceptual only tonight. We're just giving him feedback. Attorney Macy made it clear, and he let me know to remind everyone that because this is going to have a rezoning associated with it at the county level, which is a quasi-judicial matter that requires a public hearing, in no way, shape, or form should we be giving approval or denial recommendations tonight, or alluding to the fact that it would be approved or denied. We're simply reviewing the concept and then asking for additional information, or letting the applicant know that additional information could be required, or what that may be. So those are my concerns for the proposed CSM rezone.
Okay. Before we make any comments, I'm going to read you what the attorney says. It says, please be reminded that this is conceptual, and since the rezone is subject to a public hearing and quasi-judicial, the members need to be very careful what they say. For example, they should not say they're against or in favor. It would be premature to state an opinion prior to the public hearing. I have concerns as to whether or not the land division is in compliance with the county codes and the town codes, but I am assured that it does. Mr. Mazie didn't research this. He asked me, and I said, no, let's see what the Plan Commission wants. We don't want to spend any money on it. Conceptually, we poo-poo it. Okay. I have concerns, whether or not the land division is in compliance with the county codes and the town codes, but I am assured that it does. And that's what Sean just said.
Correct.
The joint drive situation will need to be addressed. Okay, the town does not create lots on easements. Okay, so with that being said, very much we can say.
Well, I guess we could talk about the easement itself in terms of driveway easements. Has that been something that's been approved or okay in the town? Lots with shared driveways, is that something the town is in favor of?
We don't like to see it if there's a way to get around it. Because
Okay.
if one person moves or they get mad at each other, it's just a recipe for
And I just say, I
aggravation.
wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do that. I thought when we met, you said that would work out to have that extra driveway in there.
I'd said potentially it would, but when I scaled this up on the computer and actually measured it, it was 61 feet, so it was just shy. So it would have to be moved an additional at least 5 feet to the south.
So how much frontage is there?
It's 138 feet approximately.
Okay. So there, you could get to 66 feet, 138.
Yeah.
So I think that needs to be addressed.
The other question that I would have in particular is whether or not the southern lot would be a flag lot. Again, the way it's written in the ordinance is a flag lot is land that's accessed by a strip of land or an easement. As I mentioned, I'm not convinced it's a flag lot. It does have a smaller piece on the north end, but traditionally when you look at flag lots, they look much different. There's a narrow strip and then it widens out to something else at the end. So I guess I'd like your input on your interpretation of that as well.
Well, I know for a fact that in some of the subdivisions, there are lots that are 66 foot that are pie-shaped.
Sure. On a cul-de-sac,
On
typically.
cul-de-sac,
Curve.
typically, and things like that.
I guess I would add the other thing about, there's special provisions in there, in the land division ordinance about waivers from flag lots, and the consideration talks about whether or not it's going to create problems, and I'm paraphrasing, issues with planning problems for the parcel in the future. So a lot of times, in the past, you saw flag lots, there'd be a strip of land with a driveway, and then have a big lot, and it would basically preclude further development down the line, or it would preclude a orderly pattern of development down the line. This particular property isn't going to be developed further in the future. It just will not have the access, and it will not have the space for that. So regardless if it actually was a flag lot, those issues wouldn't be relevant here because this isn't going to be something else in the future. We have to concern yourself with how the development might play out down the line and the problems a flag lot with a larger lot might cause. So if it is a flag lot, though, it does require a waiver if the Plan Commission would.
Bill?
Sean, I had an elevation question. It looks like the proposed basement floor elevation, 910.5. Assuming you've got an 8-foot high foundation, you're up to 918.5. And the average elevation looks like 910 back in there. So that's putting the basement 6 to 7 feet above present grade.
Yeah, there definitely have to be some fill and some grading done.
Is there enough room around that footprint to do that grade?
I don't know off the top of my head, and that's why I asked. We'd like to see where the footprint is and what it would be.
How high is the groundwater in there?
Yeah, the groundwater is 909.5, so the basement would be 1 foot above that at 910.5.
Yeah.
So you get almost an exposed basement.
There might be, yeah.
On grade.
And that's typically how it's done. When the groundwater's high and you have some slope there, you have the exposed basement, you bring some fill in, and you bring the drainage around the house. So it's not impossible to do. I'm sure that this would be built up in some regard.
Every house around there has what they call a walkout basement.
Right.
It's just part of the land, I guess. Even when I built mine, I had to bring in like 40 or 50, 60 trucks to go down one end. But yeah, all the neighbors have what they call that walkout basement. I like a full basement, but if somebody wanted to build.
It would almost invariably have to be in this case because of the groundwater. Megan, were you going to ask me something?
I guess with your flag lot thing, I mean, I don't really see how it could be considered, but if you were to change this, you know, so you get the appropriate 66 feet, I mean, how could that, to me, I agree with you, I don't see how it could be considered a flag lot. If you have the appropriate frontage, there's no small strip of land, I guess I don't see that as a concern.
Sure. So I'm contending that and I guess we haven't seen the larger lot that you're proposing. If you'd like to make it larger.
I just went by her recommendation, and she said this would be just a general, you know, this is where.
You can make it bigger. You can make it bigger as long as the southern lot remains at least 3 acres to match county zoning, and as long as you have frontage of 66 feet on each
That's
parcel.
the hang up right there, that 4
Right.
feet. I'm just trying to answer. There's a culvert there, I mean, couldn't you use 4 feet of the culvert? You know, I could move it back a little bit.
I'm not
Is that
following.
drainage way? You said you need another 4 feet. I mean, there's 2 culverts there, I have a cement driveway over it, so it'd be impossible to move the cement driveway.
Well, that would
Are you
be,
taking the measurement from where the cement is?
I'm taking the measurement from where the very north edge of the driveway as drawn in the
Okay.
conceptual plan.
Damn, 4 or 5 feet.
Now, that doesn't mean, that doesn't mean it's accurate. I'm basing my measurement on your conceptual plan, which I'm sure is not perfectly accurate. So it may be in your best interest if you, when you have this surveyed for a CSM, to have the surveyor look at that number to see what it
Okay, and what
actually
number
is.
do we want?
66 feet is the minimum. So if you can get that and still be north of that driveway,
Okay, is that the issue, the 66
to
feet?
66 feet.
And then it will be okay?
Well, not okay, that would meet what the requirements of our ordinance and wouldn't require a waiver from the plan commission.
Okay, okay, and that would be a good thing. I'm using Mark, I can't think of his name, Mark Field.
Okay.
Their surveyor, he would do the CSM. Would he be able to draw up a proposed CSM? And on there, would he put the house footprint?
The building footprint as well, yes.
So is that what I should do, go
Not-
to him?
Not necessarily the footprint, but the area where the house might be located. So like an envelope of where the house might be located, based on the drainage ways, based on the potential mound system and the setbacks.
Okay, so I really should get a CSM done, so I know exactly to the inch, pretty much to the foot what we're doing.
I think if you plan to proceed further, that would be the next step, yes.
Okay, so just please tell me what to do out there. Get the CSM, see if hopefully we can get that 66 feet.
Yeah,
We don't
so,
have to
so,
get-
right, so the requirements, that would be a CSM. That would be the next step for the town of Vernon. For the town of Waukesha, they need to see the CSM. I'm sorry, for the Waukesha County, they need to see the CSM.
And there would be a proposed CSM.
And then they need to see then you're asking for a rezoning for them as well, so.
And I think they already said that was,
So yeah, you need to talk to them about that, so.
and they approved that. Rebecca?
She didn't approve the rezoning yet, because that needs a public hearing. She
Oh.
approved maybe in concept, she said this would work,
Right.
but,
She gave me a list of things to do, and so,
correct.
okay.
So you'll have to talk to Rebecca about that, but in terms of the town, all we care about at this point is a CSM.
Okay, so go get a CSM done, a proposed CSM,
Correct.
and that will tell us that the 66 feet will be okay. And you want to see on there like a proposed footprint?
Yeah, and if not the footprint on the CSM, at least on a survey
Okay.
showing the footprint. The county may actually not accept the CSM with building footprints. I know they don't like to see information related to zoning
Okay.
and setbacks on their CSM, so it may just be, so you have the CSM, and then you might have additional page that shows the boundary and where the
Okay.
proposed home might be.
Okay, so I will get a CSM done.
And I would,
And then-
I'm not telling you what to do, but my own preference, when I look at this,
Yeah,
now listen very carefully, when I look at this, I'm looking at the red lot,
right.
or the red area. This is good conceptually,
Okay.
but this, with this on it, this should be on another one, bigger, with everything. This is lot one, there's a lot one down here, everything that doesn't have to do with this lot,
Get rid of
other than the topals and the elevations and that stuff,
clean it up.
is, it's very hard to decipher.
Okay.
And your survey will give you guidance on that as well.
He said he would work with me. He did the work tests and the borings along with, the other guy. So it's a nice clean CSM, and then we'll see if that can eke out 66 feet there. And then what do I do? Make an appointment to come back?
Because that pond there That's the kicker, because that, and it says right on there that the pond is deemed navigable by the DNR.
Yes.
And from that pond, 1,000 feet around that, we have no jurisdiction. That comes in shoreland.
Right, and Rebecca's through it, she said it would be okay.
Right, the lots she proposed would follow their zoning ordinance, right, so that's not an approval, that just means that
Right.
it complies with their ordinances.
But just to be crystal clear, just get a nice CSM, void of all of these lines and everything, and a proposed house footprint.
A maximum envelope of where the house may be located.
Okay. And then call Karen and make an appointment to come back?
So are you saying you want him to come back with another conceptual?
No, that's not what I'm saying, I would say the CSM is the next step.
And wouldn't he have to have the rezoning before he could apply? I mean,
He wouldn't necessarily have to have the property rezoned. In fact, the county won't rezone it until the CSM is approved.
okay, I'm sorry. Yeah,
So get a CSM and then you can say,
Right,
so
so,
if I get a CSM, I'll bring it into you?
oh, yeah, yes. And then we should give him our checklist and does he follow only the county's checklist on the certified survey map?
No.
Or ours and the county's?
ours and the county's.
Wow. I gotta give you an example of one.
Right, right. And then, when the CSM comes back, the certified survey map comes back and the plan commission reviews it, we would, if it was approved at that point, it would be approved conditional to the county actually going through
Through the
and rezoning
process.
property.
So Larry, call tomorrow and I'll get you some additional information to give to your
Steps to
surveyor.
go through.
Yep.
Sean, should we have the footprint on there for
Well, that was my question. So I originally said the CSM could have the building envelope on there, but I'm pretty sure that the county is not gonna wanna see that ultimately on the CSM, because they never wanna put any zoning information with setbacks. I mean, we talked about that before, right?
Exactly.
So show you two of them?
So one would be the clean CSM, and one would be a copy that shows the perimeter of lots and other information like the topo, like the drainage ways, like the setbacks, that we can just see where the envelope
Septic.
is. Yeah, exactly,
Proposed well, maybe,
right,
those types of things.
yes.
Okay, so I'll call you tomorrow and get it.
Right, because his surveyor is gonna be working with both checklists.
Correct.
And I wanna show you a lot on your road that,
Has both.
yeah, just so you know what you're in for.
Larry, we're not trying to make it hard for you, and we understand that there aren't a lot of lots in the town of Vernon left to build on. So,
Did you get a chance to drive by it? It's a really beautiful lot. I mean, it would make some people happy. I'm just thinking of the other people, of course. No, that's not true. No, it's a lot, but it really is a nice lot. You know, folks drive by and look at it. So I will, I'll get a CSM done. That's what I'm here for. I just need, tell me what to do. So can I go? But I will, I'll get it sorted.
oh, you gotta stay there,
Well, it feels like, you're going to a principal's office, and you're not sure he's done with you. But I'll get it
Well,
two of them. actually.
It's kinda hard because we're not supposed to say yes or no, or this is what we want, or anything like that. It's gotta be roundabout.
Well, I mean, it's really easy talking to you, but a lot of these people that come here aren't used to this format. And they are very nervous, and very, so they're bound to, I'm sure you get people saying things that probably if they thought about, I shouldn't do that. But, it just comes out in a sense of nervousness.
Well, you did a good job, Larry.
Yep.
You did well.
You did well.
Well, I got the information I needed, and so.
You can go home and watch that TV now.
No, I already have a fan club. Hey, what time are you on? They're all tuned in. But really, well, if you want to drive by and see, I've got it all staked out and everything. It is a beautiful one.
Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you. All right, item C, review of conditional use matrix in the town of Vernon zoning code. Oh, this one here is a beauty. We have a matrix, okay, and we we also have conditional use authority that was changed by the state, which is state law. So in front of you in your packet, we have Attorney Macy's. And this is so we can just talk about this. We need to do something with this, and we need to do it before somebody wants to do something that isn't in our code, and they just do it, well, the state allows us to do it, and we're gonna do it. That's the gist of it. So, the definitions we need to go through, and we need, I don't know what we need to do with them yet. And we need to work on the special exemptions. And when I read that, and I read through this, that's where I think we need to start and beef this up. Sean, you can just jump in here anytime you want.
Sure. So, well, my understanding of it is, as you mentioned, the statutes have been updated to what's, the Landowner's Bill of Rights is what it's commonly known as.
Yeah.
What it means is it clarifies how municipalities enforce conditional uses. And most municipalities, or most of that I work for, have similar regulations in their code as to what's actually codified now in the statutes. One is requires a Class 2 notification, which you guys already do for conditional uses. It requires you to list general requirements for conditional uses that have to be sort of proven with facts on both sides. And then it allows you to do specific conditions based on various conditional uses, which you do all those things in your ordinance right now. What Attorney Macy is saying is that we need to take a look at them and fine tune them, because it's very clear now how the state interprets conditional uses. We want to make sure that the conditions that we have in the ordinance are what we really, we mean what we're actually saying here, because it's not loose now anymore. We have to be able to back up what conditions we're asking for in the ordinance. So we need to go through the general conditions, and we need to go through the special conditions for each specific use to make sure what we're asking for is actually defensible from a rational point of view. And they're measurable things that actually can be proven, so that when someone comes in and asks for conditional use, we can point to these things and say, okay, here's what we need to see, show us that you can meet these conditions, and we'll grant you the use. Because without those things in place, what the state is saying is that conditional uses are pretty much allowed is if there's nothing in there that points to measurable conditions that you can require. So those things have to be tuned up in the ordinance, and then I think he also wants Attorney Macy also wants us to go through the list of conditional uses in each of the districts to make sure that they're truly conditional uses and that they're in the right places, just to take a comprehensive look at conditional uses in the town of Vernon to make sure that it meets the letter of the law. So that's what he's asking. Not to happen tonight, obviously, but just to bring it to everyone's attention.
And I wanted to run this, well, we talked about it at town board level. The town board said, well, we should at least talk to the plan commission, because they're the ones that are going to interpret this. And just a year and a half ago, we all went through that. Why didn't they do this sooner, and then we could have had this all done? I don't know, but they didn't. So it seems like we have to go back and spend some time on it. And I'm thinking that it's not going to be a lot of time, but to tighten it up enough to where we just don't have to cave in and give it to somebody is what I want to do. And I don't know if I have the expertise in there to look at that, and how do you tighten that up to do. I know our planner would, and I know Attorney Macy would. So what are your thoughts on that?
If I could also add, I think Attorney Macy's comment was, as part of the memo, that the town of Vernon is in pretty good shape comparatively. So I don't know if it's a great deal of work or not. I just want to reiterate, I think it's just, it's a once-over. It's making sure that the conditions that we actually have written in there, as I mentioned, are measurable, are realistic, rational conditions, and we just want to make sure that we're not liable.
Well,
We don't open
this
ourselves-
body can't spend any money, but we can make a recommendation on the next, we won't be able to get it on tomorrow's town board, but we can make a recommendation to the town board. Now, the planner is cheaper than the attorney. That the planner could go through some of those things, and we could get a budget number from you that we could approach the town board with, so we would know how many dollars. That's also helpful on what it would cost. We can make a recommendation for that to Sean, to get us a number that we can approach the town board as a recommendation. If so be it, that's what you want to do. Well, I'm not trying to drive this one way or the other, I'm just trying to figure out how to get it done, so, like I said, somebody comes in and
I would agree, otherwise how do we know where to even start on this?
that's exactly right. I mean, I read this over 3 or 4 times, I looked at the state, you think this is fun, you ought to read the state statute on, that's a beauty. Yeah, and I even enjoy reading that stuff.
Well, even like on page 5, which raises this issue we just dealt with, words like waiver modification, or waiver or modification, even a variance. I don't see what we're doing differently when we grant a waiver modification than if we were deciding on a variance. That's my own personal feeling.
Yeah.
To me, that can be a really gray area.
It is a gray area, and it's subjective, and a lot of times it's not based on, it's not based on concrete conditions and evidence. You're just, hey, it seems compatible or okay, but what Attorney Macy is specifically saying is that those things are still okay, and they're outside the conditional use process, and they don't need, at least at this point in time, the courts have not said that those need the same evidence as conditional uses do, though it may not be a bad idea.
So I don't know, Mr. Chair, how do we make a recommendation to the board? We don't have a proposal from Sean at this point. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do we want to start with the special exemptions? Would that be somewhere to start, Sean?
Well, in the town of Vernon, some communities have what's known as conditional uses and special exceptions. We don't, our special exceptions are not the same. We only use conditional uses in Vernon. Our waivers, modifications are not considered special exceptions because they're not listed as such. They're not particular uses in a matrix where we call it a special exception. We just have conditional use. So that's all we're concerned about, I think, is our conditional uses in the town. So whatever I would prepare, if I prepared an estimate and took a look at the language, I think regardless, Attorney Macy is going to come in on the back end and he's going to need to review what we had written.
That's
Well,
where you
like
need
I
the
said
budget.
before, I feel more comfortable to get a budget number from you
Sure.
that we can approach the town board with. And it would be not to exceed and somewhat of the hours it might take,
Right.
something like that.
So bring that back for next plan commission meeting.
Well, I would think that, it's on here that we can talk to the town board at the next, we bring it back for, the next plan commission meeting. Or we could have, if you get that estimate done, we could have somewhat of a special meeting and take a look at it so we could get it on. I'd like to get it on the next agenda, not tomorrow night's meeting, but the following meeting in March.
So if I gave you an estimate and got it to you in the next couple of weeks, I don't know if, I mean, you could hold a special meeting if you wanted to, but if you didn't, and you did it in March, you looked at it in March, if it looked good to you, you'd approve it to the board would take action on it the next night then, potentially, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So-
Or the next plan commission
Or the
meeting
next
is
plan
a
commission.
town board meeting also.
Yeah.
So you could kill bird with one.
Then that might even be better, because then you can talk to the other two members of the town board and we can make a decision.
Sure. Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So we didn't spend any money, it's just an estimate. Does everybody concur?
Yeah, 'cause this, reading this doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, it does if you read it a few times. All right, so we're gonna get an estimate then. Okay. So item 5, approval of minutes from December 13th.
Wait, she built any corrections.
I'm waiting for you, Bill.
Actually, I only had a question. 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph up from the bottom of page 1. Talks about, he will be asking the plan commission town board for the approval of selling 5 automobiles for his 2 businesses. What is his second business?
He's got 2. He's got one that's on the corner of Enterprise and National, and he's got one that's down from Jamie's.
Isn't he all track and trail?
Yeah, but they're 2 separate businesses.
It's this, they're, I think it's all considered road, track, and trail. It's 2 different owners for the buildings, all one business, 2 locations.
One's like the showroom, and the other one's where he does a lot of the work.
Well, and storage and so on.
Right.
Is it one motorcycle and one snowmobile?
Yeah. For the most part, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I guess the other questions I got don't pertain to approving these. I'll bring those up at a later date, because, I would move that we approve the minutes of the Board of Supervisors and Planning Commission for December 13th, 2017. Second.
Any more comments? Well, that being said, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjournment of the plan commission meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 7:05. Thank you.